Testing. Okay, class, here we are again. We're going to work on problems 22 through 28 on this section, and I'm going to try to do this pretty quickly. So I just want to show you, it asks which quadrant is tangent negative in. So this is going back to our diagram A, S, T, C. In quadrant 3, tangent is positive, and in quadrant 1, tangent is positive. So the only quadrants where tangent would be negative would be in the sine quadrant, quadrant 2, and in the cosine quadrant, quadrant 4. So we would pick 2 and 4. That would be choice C. Where is cosine positive? Cosine is positive in the A quadrant for everything, and in the quadrant 4. So that would be quadrant 1 and 4. So now we move along to looking at exact values of functions. So this is where you can't use your calculator. You got to come up with the exact value. So the sine of 225. Well, if you go to the quadrant where 225 would be, that would be in quadrant 3. The reference angle is 45. And if you remember the sides for 45, 45, 90, you would have 1. This would be -1, this would be -1, this would be root 2. So the sine of that angle would be the opposite side over the hypotenuse. You would have that equal to -1 over root 2, or you should rationalize it and you would get -root 2 over 2, and that would be choice B. Now we go to the tangent of 300. Again, we draw the diagram. We pace ourselves out to 300, and we remember a 300-degree angle is a 60-degree reference angle. So our sides for this triangle from our special triangles will be root 3, and that's negative because it's pointing down. It would be +1, and this would be equal to 2. So our tangent of 300 would be equal to the opposite side over the adjacent. You would end up having -root 3 over 1. And that would be choice D. Notice there's not a 1 over it, that's why I paused a little bit. Now we've got the cosine of -120 degrees. So now we go, instead of winding the hand of the clock counterclockwise, we're going to go in a negative direction 120 degrees. That will put us in quadrant 3, 120 degrees negative. It means that the angle is 60 degrees, and the sides again are root 3, and that's negative because it's pointing down, 1, and that's negative because it's pointing to the left, and the hypotenuse is always positive. So the cosine of that would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So you would say cosine of -120 would equal -1 over 2, and that would be choice A. And the last one is the sine of 750 degrees. So we go around the clock once, we go around the clock twice. Now we're at 720 degrees, and then we stop, and this angle is a 30-degree reference angle. So that is 2 full rotations plus 30 degrees. So our two sides are going to be, the opposite side of a 30 is 1, and that's pointing up, and that's +root 3, and that's 2. So the sine ratio is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse, so kotoa, and that would be equaling choice C, 1/2. For number 28, it asks us find the 6 trig ratios sine values for an angle of 318 degrees. Well, we just got to figure out what quadrant we're in. 318 puts us in quadrant 4, and we know that cosine is positive here, and secant is positive here, and all the others are negative. So we try to find positive sine and cosecant, negative all the rest. So choice B would be our answer. Hopefully this has helped you, and we will continue on the next video. Will be problems 29 through 35.